Remember that 33 young men and women, young girls and boys, coming from the eastern part of the country in 12 schools spanning Taita to Veta, were brought before a court of law that they were then charged with arson. That this had started around about the end of first term towards the second term, as has been established by the Clear Omolo task force that took place in 2016. Coco. Now, it had been established that, second term was tough. Let's take some facts into consideration. It's the longest term in the school year. It's about 15 weeks. Kids are in school for a long time before they come home for 3 days and then they go back. But this term is for everybody. So now for those who are in boarding school, they're grinding for a long time. So it's the longest term. For your Form 4s, this is when now you're really getting into it and you're trying to remember everything that you studied from Form 1, 2, 3. Because there's this big exam that's coming that essentially is going to chart the course of your future that comes about in November. So it's tough. And I had a conversation with a Form 4 student a couple of weeks ago, and she just looked like, this is the beginning of term 2, she looked like she was going to fall apart at some point, and she was telling me, this is an A student, but she said it is overwhelmingly difficult. So they feel the pressure. This is not just me saying this. These things came up in the Clear Omolo Report, okay? And they said that the pressure that they feel around second term is great, and that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. For those who've not finished syllabus, that's where the time they're packing it in because they need to be done. Term 3, there's nothing you're learning. Everything is fully revisional. All right? So they need to make sure that you finish your syllabus. If you, for some reason, you do not finish it by term 1, this is where you're packing it all in. This is also the time that they feel as though they can start to make complaints about things that have been happening, whether it's their wherewithal when it comes to food, the quality and quantity of it, that they see that things start to wax and wane around term 2. And then they say, come on, guys, there's a little bit more weevil in my beans this term than there was around this time last year. You know what I'm saying?
I'm eating a lot of paraffin, man. Kerosene.
Exactly.
We need to stop it.
So the complaints come. Again, this is not Ndu saying. This is if you actually, that Clear Omolo report is available. You can actually go and look at some of the things that they say that are genuine concerns. And it's not just from one school. It is that they've taken what is that thing that you do when you're taking a sample? That's the word. A sample. They're taking samples from different...
the tip sample. The sample size of all the schools.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And they've been able to establish that these are actually the reasons. So there are different things that come up. Another thing is that corporal punishment is banned in Kenya. However, don't be deceived that it doesn't still take place. This is another thing that came up in this report, that children are mishandled in school. And I know that there are some adults today who are functioning victims of PTSD, who remember the things that were done to them, even when corporal punishment had been banned. Okay? Children are still being beaten. We are still dealing with the hangovers of children will be seen and not heard. And this attitude is even taken to school, whereby even if you had an opinion, God forbid, nobody wants to hear your opinion. You do as I say and not as I do. So you can't have an opinion. God forbid that you should even then voice that opinion. We want to ignore it, but it is true. The human beings who live in your houses when they're on holiday are the same human beings who go to these boarding schools. They don't change. They don't eat weevils in their food when they are in their parents' house. I don't imagine.
If there is a parent who feeds their children weevils,
maybe you can tell us. Okay? When a child is sick and you present yourself to the teacher and they say, "Where are you, Dennis? You're just pretending. Able go back to class." When a child is sick in their parents' home and it has been established, mind you, I do actually accept that some children will feign illness in order to avoid going to class, sitting an exam. They will feign illness. But in the time when a child is unwell, that you are denied medical care is a reality. Again, another factor that made it into the Omolo Report. We also know that these criminal activities that they're talking about that push children to the brink are a lot of times, mind the words that I use, not all the times instigated by staff and or teachers of schools who go nudge students and they say, excuse me, are we doing something today? This time, you guys are kind of quiet. Nothing is happening.
You guys are not tired.
This, again, is in this report. I beg you. One of the things that we don't do is we don't read. And that is one of the problems. Look at that report. This is what they said in this report as per the reasons why they see this unrest. Now, unrest combined with frustration is equals to a lot of the incidences that we see that we are still reporting about to date. Why do I bring this up? In as much as we do not know the reason or the cause of the fire at Utumishi yesterday morning, we do know that in this time period that many cases have been documented and things have been recommended for action that were not done. I just want to repeat in case anybody missed out. Okay? 1994, Kirima Task Force 1 sat. And they studied student strikes and arson in schools. In 2001, the government appointed another team, the Task Force on Student Discipline and Unrest in Secondary School. It even had a snazzy title. The verdict mirrored the findings of the Kirima team. This is 7 years later. Are you understanding? 7 years after the fact, they established that whatever they found out in 1994 is the same thing that they found in 1991. Are we together?
Yes.
All right. They finished that one. We put it on the shelf and it collected the proverbial dust. Many years later, before that, in 2016, the government appointed Claire Omolo to head this task force that restated the recommendations of the last two teams in detail. Please, whatever was in the Claire Omolo report of 2016 in detail is what was in the report of 2001 and the Kirima report of 1994.
Yes.
There were certain recommendations that were made. So let's leave the social issues aside. Those ones for our food is bad, our teachers are terrible, they are beating us, they are feeding us little animals. Put that one aside. Let's look at the recommendations that were made, whereby the news bite from what Sheila Tembur told us just a few minutes ago talked about people who are trying to send ladders up to the windows. But what was the reason why the kids could not get out? There are grills on the doors, on the windows. Can't get out. Okay. So you can't get out using the ladder that has been sent. And who was telling them to go and look for something else? Who?
Police.
Please
find for a metal bar so that you can break the door.
The door, they cannot get to the door because what? It is locked from where? Outside. This is where children are sleeping. Then you lock the door from outside. So you have to ask yourself, what exactly was going on here? I'm telling you about reports that followed 7 years later, and people are saying, guys, this is actually what we need to do. There was even a report that said, until you meet these standards, we are not even going to allow you to register as a school, talk less of allowing you to admit students in the school. Who followed who?
Sindu, it's unfortunate that in 1994, if implementation went into place, we would not be having